everybody, welcome to the Comic Gamer Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I got a video game spotlight, a video game highlight. This is my new thing I'm going to be doing. I haven't reviewed a video game in a while because, I take my time with video games. When I get a game, I really sit down and take my time with it. So it often takes me a while to even put out a review, but I got a new intro. Thanks to my boy Superwise. Thanks again. And honestly, I think this intro might be the best one he made. But with all that being said, the game I am here to review today is Dragon Age Veilguard. Now, Dragon Age, this is the long-awaited sequel to one of Bioware's best franchises in the Dragon Age, franchise. It's pretty much this and Mass Effect are really the two. I mean, there are some other games that Bioware are known for as well, but I think the two big ones, at least in my mind, are Dragon Age and Mass Effect. So I was looking very much forward to this. I have been anticipating this game being made for quite some time. Dragon Age Inquisition, which was the game I played. So me and the Dragon Age franchise is kind of weird because I didn't play the first couple Dragon Age games. It just didn't feel for me. I saw the top-down stuff. I was like, I don't think this is going to be for me. And as with other games, like The Witcher, one of my best friends, Seth, suggested I should check out Inquisition. He suggested Inquisition in particular because he thought that I would have a funner time with that game because, he just thought I'd have a funner time with it. Ended up playing it, ended up loving Dragon Age Inquisition. Dragon Age Inquisition came out in 2014, 10 years ago. Not to the day, but about 10 years ago. And I love that game, dude. I had so much fun with it. I love the characters, Varric, Cassandra, the Iron Bull, your companions. I love the story of the Inquisitor. And it was one of the first games that I really felt like as the Inquisitor in the Inquisition, as you lead them to close all those rifts, go around the world, it had a lot of things going for it. One, it did two things that I never really had happen in another game, in a while anyways. It's one of the first games where where it actually justifies the fetch quests. It actually justifies why your character has to personally go do all of these fetch quests because your character has that mark on his hand to close the rift. So literally, you have to go everywhere. So at least it's one of the few games that actually justifies fetch quests. It's also one of the few games where you actually feel the weight of power, of responsibility. You really feel like the leader of this big group with different from different story points to different ways you can go about handling situations to passing judgment. Like, you really got a sense of you are a big deal. You are the world's hope to closing these rifts, and I think they got that through very well. Now, it took me a while to get adjusted to the top, because it isn't completely top-down, but you can kind of play it top-down. It's an interesting setup for the combat system. It took me a while to get used to it, but the game was so fun, the characters were so fun, the companions were so fun. I love the romance system. Romance system was fun. Like, everything about that game, I freaking loved. Also, minor note before I get into Veilguard, it also has one of the all-time greatest DLCs. A DLC that I won't go into too much detail here, but if you ever want, go play Inquisition and get all the DLC content. It's a hell of a fucking game. Anywho, Veilguard in canon, but actually, to stay on Inquisition for a tiny bit longer, one of the things you discover, particularly in the DLC, is a companion, your elven companion, Solus, who you thought, Solus was kind of like the cold-blooded, cold calculating, type. Turns out, the entire time you guys were doing what you were doing, he was working behind the scenes to further his own goals. Further his own goals that you wouldn't see come to fruition until 10 years in canon in Dragon Age Veilguard. Because as it turns out, Solus wasn't a man at all. In fact, he's an elven god. He's an ancient elven god who essentially was using the situation, was taking advantage of the situation to help further his own goals, and you didn't find out until the very end. I really don't think you don't find out until the DLC, like, more details on what the fuck is going on. But that's what leads into this. So there's only a couple characters. There's only two characters that come back from Inquisition. That is Harding, the dwarven girl, and there is the two dwarves, basically Harding and Varric. Both of them return. Though Harding wasn't an actual companion in Inquisition, she was just like, she was a scout. Every location you would go to, she'd be there and she'd give you the breakdown of what's going on in Inquisition. Now Harding is a legit companion. You can romance her and talk to her. I thought that was a really cool touch because you thought Varric was going to be the companion, but then Varric gets hurt very early on. Either way, you play a new character named Rook. Now, you have different versions of a backstory you can come up with. And they actually have an effect. At least I've only played through once, and I picked the Crow backstory. The Crows are the are the assassins group, and different backstories all lead you essentially through coming through Varric and Harding's path as they attempt to hunt down Solas and stop him from doing whatever he's doing. Now, there are some little logical things for me that's a bit weird. Now, it's hinted heavily that because the Inquisition is still there. The Inquisitor's still alive. A lot of those characters are still alive. The Inquisition is still a thing. Not as big, but it's still a thing. But, like, the Solas thing, like, but only Harding and Varric are out here hunting down this elven god. But I digress. You play Rook, and you can play him in many different ways, and give him many different backstories, and have him play up very differently, depending on how you want to go about it. I picked Rook. I kind of went with the more assassins build, with the bow and the two swords, like, because I just thought that'd be kind of cool, kind of a cool way to go about it. Anywho, you guys do stop Solas. Things go very, very wrong, and as it turns out, what Solas was actually turns out Solas had long ago sealed away some other evil elven gods who were using the Blight, which you kind of see in Inquisition, to warp the elven world. But Solas long ago rebelled, stopped them, and imprisoned them. But apparently their prison isn't going to be able to hold them for long. So this entire thing was Solas attempting to put them in a prison that could be more permanent. But unfortunately, for him to do that, he had to open up a rift, which would kill thousands of people in the process. And of course, we're not going to let him do that. They stop him. But unfortunately, in the process of stopping him, two of those gods escaped. And now, that is the main story. Because Solas is trapped. Like, because you go into the game, and I think that was an Oki. Some people have feelings about this. Because Solas was kind of set up to be the main villain of the game. And they kind of pulled the Oki on you. They really did. At least, as far as I'm going to tell you guys, they pulled the Oki on you. Maybe he didn't. Maybe it's not. But, like I said, I'm trying not to spoil anything too much. But they pull an Oki on you, and it turns out Solas isn't the villain these two elven gods are. So now, you, Varric, and Harding have to not have to recruit people around to help you take down these elven gods before they go back to fucking up the world like they were before Solas put them away. And that's the main plot. But to get into the actual game in comparison, I would say that BioWare did something that I've only seen that they've done before, which is the combat system, the RPG elements to the game. They simplified it. So this is something they did before. I would equate it to Witcher 2 and Witcher 3, or more closely, Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2, because it's not like though Mass Effect 1 wasn't unbearable to play or anything crazy like that, but there was just so much shit to do in Mass Effect 1. You had to upgrade your shoes, you had to upgrade your boots, you had to upgrade, not your boots, your pants, you had to put things in here, you had to do different things to the gun, there was so much shit you had to handle, and you had to handle all the other side character shit too. There was so much shit to manage. If you wanted to, you could do it without managing it and just get the bare minimum guns. But if you wanted, but there was a lot to manage. And then Mass Effect 2, they simplified it. They're like, guns have simple upgrades. It's just this. It's just not this over-the-top thing. They simplified so many elements of the game. Like, even the ammunition, not healing back and whatnot. And they pretty much did the same thing with Veilguard. The combat system has been slightly simplified, although there's still some top-down elements to it if you could want to zoom out, but it's not as top-down as something like an Inquisition, which kind of opens it, which is kind of smart, because the same thing happened for Witcher. There's a reason Witcher 3 is regarded so much higher than the other two Witchers, and that's because they simplified a lot of Witcher 3 in comparison to Witcher 2. Witcher 2 was so fucking aggravating, I didn't want to play Witcher 3. It wasn't until Seth, once again, convinced me to give Witcher 3 a try, because he was like, okay, it's not as bad as that, it's a little bit, it's better. And then I played it and loved it, but in the beginning, I didn't even want to do that shit. Which this is not that. I loved Inquisition, but I did notice it right off the bat. I'm like, okay, they simplify things down. It's still the same. For instance, one of the big things they did is, Inquisition, all your companions upgrade wheel, upgrade shit, all their equipment and upgrade shit was basically the same as yours. They had the same tree, almost the same size tree as upgradable tree as you. They had the same amount of jewelry and rings and equipment they could get as you. All the same. Not on this one. You still have this massive skill tree, but your companions have a much more pared down skill tree. It's much more, what's the word I'm looking for? Centered. It's like this. They all have like a certain limited amount of abilities. They all have like, it's not this big ass tree that you have to worry about. Honestly, if you want to, you can pretty much upgrade your companion skill trees far before you can upgrade your own. So that's something. They changed right off the bat. Because everything for you is basically the same, but your companion skill tree is very much pared down. Also, it's just a different, just like I said, the combat system is just a bit different. Other than that, it is very similar to Inquisition and how you go from place to place, except depending on the backstory you decide to pick. Now, this is one of the coolest things I'd say about the game, other than the gameplay itself and the characters and the companions. Some very fun ones that you like Emmerich and fucking Tash. Like, there's some very fun. Harding is fun. There are some very fun, Emmerich in particular, all the companions are so diverse, they bring different things to the table. Some of them bring the same things, but most of them bring different things to the table, so you can mix and mash. One of the things, too, that they do very well is that different areas require different strategies, because the enemy, you might go one place and the enemy's resistant to fire, but not resistant to cold, so maybe you want to bring someone who has more cold related abilities. You might go somewhere where they're reversed. They're resistance to cold, but vulnerable to fire. So I want to bring fire based. Like, so you have to really pick and choose like the type of companions to bring with you. Something that they brought back, obviously, is the banter between the companions. It's always fun just to see that back and forth. That's always fun. Nev is very fun because she's like this famous detective. But to get into why I really enjoy, one of the things that I really enjoy is they actually make the pick backstory that you have a part of the game. Like, I picked a crow, basically an assassin, and they tell you a little story about how you were like, you're not a recruit, like you were you were trying to scribe in the crows, but then one day you saw someone doing something wrong and you intervened and it put heat on the crows, and they essentially kicked you out, sort of, kind of, so that when at a certain point it comes up, you have to go to, I think it's called Tessia, I think it's called that, where the crows are, they mention your transgressions. Your companions talk to you, the dialogue completely changes. And the dialogue changes going forward. Every person who's a part of the crow mentions you being a part of the crow. Your companions occasionally mention you being a part of the crows. When eventually you recruit someone who's from the crows, he also mentions you being a part of the crows. Like, there's so much that comes out of your predetermined backstory. There's so much dialogue choices that come from it. There's so many things that people ask you that come from it. And I dig the fuck out of that. It's one of those things that just adds to the replayability of this game. It just makes you want to go back and play it again with a different thing, because then you get different dialogue choices. So that is exciting. So that was one of the things that was very exciting right off the bat that I really enjoyed. Fun combat system. It can be challenging. It's not always the most easiest game. You just really got to know what you're doing. There's not too much I can tell you about the story without spoiling anything. The graphics aren't mind-blowing, but they're very good. They're good enough. They're good enough for me to not think about it. At least in my opinion. I like the graphics, but they're nothing mind-blowing in my opinion. They're good. This isn't fucking Red Dead Redemption 2 kind of shit where you're just like, what the fuck? Is this real life? No, it's nothing like that. But overall, I love this game. I've been playing it like a fiend. I enjoy the world they built here. Sure, there are some logical things story-wise that I'm like, I'm not sure about that. But I love the game. The villains, okay, the one thing I'll say, the villains aren't the most mind-blowing. You know, they're pretty muhaha a little bit, but you know, whatever. You actually, there's so much more history. There's so many more things that had been mentioned in like Inquisition that you actually get to see here. Like the Grey Wardens, you get to see the place where the Grey Wardens go. You hear about the Grey Wardens, you hear about that big ass castle fortress they got, but you actually get to see it and seeing it get destroyed. Sorry, I already said too much. Anyways, I would give Dragon Age Veilguard a 9 out of 10. I love this game. I have such a blast with it. I can't wait for them to come out with some DLC for it, hopefully. Somebody comment below if you know, let me know. But anyways, that is my video game review of Dragon Age Veilguard. Anyways, comment below. Have you played Dragon Age Veilguard? Have you played any of the Dragon Age games? Comment below and let me know. If you guys join me in the Comic Game Movie Show, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.